Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Twameva Mata Cha Pita Twameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vidya dravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Yata sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stitani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So welcome to Anya. So just a little bit of context about this text. Do you want a copy of it for tonight? Would you grab her one, please? So this book is dated at all sorts of places. My personal feeling is it's probably somewhere around 400 to 600 of the Common Era. We don't know who the author is. It's huge. Yoga Vasishtha is 32,000 shlokas. So that's 64,000 couplets. So it's volumes. There's a shorter form of it called the Laghu Yoga Vasishtha, which is only 16,000 verses. This is a significant abridgment called Yoga Vasishtha Sar, or the essence of Yoga Vasishtha, cut down to 1,600 verses. Still takes me a year and a half to get through it, meeting one night a week. The framing story is the enlightenment of Lord Rama. And so we can clearly see that it's post-Buddhist. So you find that the story echoes the enlightenment in many ways of the Buddha, going out, traveling around, seeing the world as it is, becoming dejected. Some slight changes. So the court sage is a dude named Vasishtha. And Ram is completely dejected. He's only 16 when this takes place. And he's supposed to go off in the forest and help defeat some demons, and he's not really keen on the task. So Vasishtha says this dejection is not because he needs, what do they call them, SSRIs? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not depressed. No, he doesn't need Xanax. What he needs is to be awakened, because this state is a very high state. when the world starts to taste like ashes. I was spending some time with a fellow today, and he was remarking about, I got what I wanted, and then immediately what's next? And then immediately what's next? Immediately what's next? And he's no kid. He's in his mid-50s now. And he's got the doctorate, and he's got the partner, and he's got the condo, and he's got the job, and he's got the dog. And it doesn't do it. Everything he thought was going to make him happy. A little bit. But this state of ennui is actually a very high state because it indicates mature detachment from the world. We only detach from the world through deep insight, never from a moral position. You have to see what I was doing just isn't working. So Vasishtha then sets out to enlighten him. And what I like about this text is it's framed with a bunch of stories, because I love stories, all sorts of salty characters. And it may have come from an even earlier text called Mokshapaya, which I have not read. So I don't know, but a scholar friend of mine suggested that. But it's a really important work in the canon of non-dual thought. One of the things that is unique about this text is it gives virtually equal weight to the path of Raja Yoga, the 8 limbs of Patanjali, Ashtanga Yoga, and the path of Vedanta, which is my tradition. And the whole book essentially deals with 3 questions. Anybody remember them? First question, who am I? What is my essential nature? Second question, what is this world? Third question, how has it come about? First question, Koham, who am I? Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman, the ground of being, unchanging consciousness. What is this world? Chandogya thunders, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. Sarvam idam, all this, that's jargon, means the whole phenomenal world. Kalu, verily, is Brahman. And what about the names and forms? How have they come about? Sankalpena, by means of imagination. The phenomenal world is not created. It isn't manifested as something that's real. It comes about macrocosmically in the same way as the dream comes about for you and me microcosmically. You are the God of your dream. And just as your one unified mind, as it were, refracts or splinters or shatters into a dream body with a dream ego, and there are dream people, places, things, conditions, and dream feelings and reactions. Yet all of it is not outside, but inside my mind. So also, all of this is in consciousness. So that's kind of where we are. Is this material that is new for you, Anya?
Yes.
Okay, hang on. So where are we this evening?
Chapter 13, number 26, 27. Bottom of
Chapter
page 1.
13, number 26/27.
It's page 135.
135.
135. Will you help us out, Puneet?
Sarva bhavantarasthaya Chetyamukta chidatmane Pratyak chetana rupaya Mahyam meva namo namaha Swayame bodhitam swastham Namami swasvasham swayam. Repeated salutations to my own self, who is inherent in all states of being, who is of the nature of pure consciousness, liberated from things to be cognized, and who is of the form of the inner life principle, the soul or individualized consciousness. I bow to the self who has risen only by himself, who is self-abiding, independent, and is my own self.
Yeah. So the Upanishad thunders, it is not that which you worship out there. So which is the God you're supposed to worship? Is it Kali? Is it Durga? Is it Vishnu? Is it Shiva? Is it Jesus? Is it Buddha? Is it Allah? And what the Upanishad is saying, those are only humans' ideas of the infinite. What Carl Jung would call archetypes. They have a relative reality. But think. I have friends who've gone hiking in the Himalayas and they've had visions of Lord Shiva rising out of a huge mountain. Several of them had the same vision. And I've had other people who go to Lourdes, where the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared to people. Miracles happen there. But you know, I haven't yet met a Hindu who's had a vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And not one of my Catholic friends has seen baby Krishna. Why? Because that's not the archetypical image that they're working on. There's no blame in this. But what this verse is thundering, where is the God that we want to worship and adore, which is a very good thing. And it is closer than hand or foot. It is closer than your breath. It is closer than your innermost thoughts. It's your very experience of I. Now, this does not mean your ego sense, what we call jiva bhavana, the feeling that I'm the body, the feeling that I'm a person. In meditation, this thins out. Who do I see that I am? Chidakash, term this text uses, the space of pure awareness. Birthless, changeless, without qualities, deathless, and always experienced as I. That would be in meditation and see the self go by. You can have all these ideas. What do you think about the self? What do you think about the self? As if it's something that's hovering above us. No. We must start with our direct experience. Who sees the water glass? I do. That's yourself. You don't get a new self. You just investigate and discover what it's really like. But because of spiritual ignorance, I thought I was a miserable person. My body caught in samsara. Let me draw a parallel. So if you have a dream, does the dreamer attain the waker? Does the dreamer, through his or her practices, become the waker? Know the waker? What happens when you wake up? Gone. Gate param, gate parasam, gate bodhi swaha. Gone. Gone. Completely gone beyond. Totally awake. Wow. All right, next verse. Who do we have online tonight?
Just me.
Hi, just me.
तिष्ठन्नपि हीनासीनो गच्छन्नपि न गच्छति शान्तोऽपि व्यवहारस्थ कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते. Though staying, he is not staying. Though moving, he does not move. Though quiet, he occupies himself with action, and though acting, he is not staying.
So the word here is vyavahara, which literally means doing business, transactions in the world. So here, Vasishtha is echoing this wonderful concept from Gita. What is actionless in the midst of action? And what is action in the midst of actionlessness? So what is it that acts? The body, mind, intellect, the bodies, the equipment is always acting. Even sitting still is an action. And I promise you, if you sit still long enough, guess what's going to happen? I need to go to the bathroom. I'm hungry. I need to sleep. The dharma of the body is karma, action. But the self is kutastha, always still. It never does anything. It doesn't go anywhere. It never changes. It is the watcher, as it were, of everything. Like the center of a cyclone, everything moves around it, but it is still. So the person of steady wisdom is identified with that still point and has given up concern. The petty issues of the body, mind, intellect. One of the classic images the scriptures use, it's like your shadow. beautiful day today, and in the afternoon, you go outside and you have a long shadow. Do you get upset if your shadow falls in the gutter? No. We're just past the summer solstice. So at noon, your shadow's very small. Do you agree? Oh, my shadow is so little. No. And if somebody jumps on the head of your shadow, is anyone hurt? In fact, most of us don't really pay much attention to our shadow. Follows us around, but no big deal. But you and I, in our foolishness, defend, protect body, mind, intellect, which is chit chaya. It's a shadow of consciousness. When in fact the self is kudasta, still, true. Don't believe me? In a quiet mind, see if you can at least put all your desires and issues on the shelf. See if you can slow the mind down so there's some gaps between your thoughts. They don't need to be long. And then this radical reversal of the attentive faculty. Notice the knower. Who am I? What is my essential nature? And I see all I am is Satchidananda, pure existence. I shine as the light of awareness. And for now, we'll translate Ananda as no sorrow touches me. Physical pain gets as far as my body, upsets get as far as my mind, doubt, confusion get as far as my intellect. But I am safe. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
एष एष सदान्वेष्य स्तुत्योऽध्यातव्य एव च जरामरण्यसम्मोहात् अनोनोर्तीर्यगम्यते. This self alone is fit to be sought for, lauded, and also meditated upon. By this, one crosses over the bewilderment of old age and death.
So it's not so much that I deify my ego. How do I cross over old age and death? It's when I realize I have this deep aha that nothing touches me. I was never born. Nothing can improve me. Nothing can diminish me. No matter what happens, the self is always the same. I like to say self-realization only gives us two things. The first I call existential freedom. Nothing's going to harm you. It's all okay. Not only for me, but for everybody else, whether they know it or not. It's safe. I don't need to defend, protect, justify it, prove. And secondly, I found out where happiness is. I thought happiness was dancing with the people, places, things, and conditions. And I have learned the fountainhead, the source, the wellspring of all happiness is my own swarup, my own self-nature. That if I can let go of attachment and let the mind come home to the self, oh, Chidananda Rupaha, my form is bliss consciousness. And the world isn't bad, it's just too little. And it takes so much damn work. I like to say a nickel's worth of juice for 95 cents worth of work. It's just bad economy. Well, just go directly to the source. And this is for Dario and Anya. I always have this picture out. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Hanuman and Lord Ram. So Hanuman doesn't know he's really powerful. And then he learns that he can fly through the air and he's got superhuman strength and stuff like that. Hanuman is the mind. Most of us think our minds are wimpy and problematic, monkey mind. But in fact, the mind is incredibly powerful. But where does it find its peace? In the embrace of Lord Rama. Rama is yourself. Rama is yourself. I stood it up right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the end, real spirituality is incredibly simple. It's profound. All that we've been looking for is my own self-nature. And my favorite verse from Gita, from the second chapter, when a person casts off all the craving of the mind, all that addictive jonesing, oh Partha, and is satisfied in the self, by the self. Then they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. See the point. Now, there's a terrible demon that can afflict our sadhana. Anybody think of what the demon's name is that I'm talking about?
Yeah, but
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, but Jim, what about, I really want this. Yeah, but what about if someone cheats me? Don't I have a right to be angry? Yeah, but what about yada, 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 yada? So, yeah, but is a terrible demon. It will rob you of your peace. So, ciao, get out. Don't let it affect you. Stay home. Not meaning inside your house. Keep your mind at home in the sound. All right, next verse.
क्षमे भोगस्थितौ वाञ्छा क्षमे भोगविवर्जने यत् आयाति तत् आयातु यत् प्रयाति प्रयातु तत्. To me, there is no desire for the continuance of enjoyments, nor for the abandoning of enjoyment. Whatever comes, let it come. Whatever departs, let it go.
So, in the beginning, we practice viveka and vairagya, discrimination between the real and the unreal, the self and the not self, until I'm very clear I am that witnessing consciousness. Vairagya, that desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses and any personal sense of self, from the body up to thinking I'm something important. It is important that we do this because we need to attain to yoga rudha, mount the steed of the mind. We need to have chitta shuddhi, purity of mind. We need to have a sattvic mind. This is a term that's used in your tradition, isn't it, Dario?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's not saying not to do these. It's not either or. It's first, then. When the mind is sattvic, atma vichara, inquiry into the nature of the self, is pretty easy. If, on the other hand, I have a heart that's filled with rajas and tamas, I'm blown about by raga and dvesha, craving and aversion. It's very hard to see who I really am. The mind gets agitated very easily. So the yogi accepts whatever comes, including jam and car music. No resistance. One of the elements we talk about is our need to give up what's called kartavya. Kartavya literally means obligatory action. The subtler meaning is the need to struggle. Work we will always do. Unless you're a trust fund kid, you're probably going to have a job or marry well. If you have a family, you've got responsibilities. You've got elderly parents, you're probably going to have to take care of them. There's no escape. But the world in the end is not problematic. But that's different than these deeply rooted notions What's wrong with my life is I don't have this, I don't have that. If only I had more education, a partner, if I got rid of the partner, I had a house. Well, we've got at least three people who are house owners. Is it all just sweetness and light?
No.
And you've got a rather old house.
Very
Your
old
guy's house is kind of new. What happens to roofs and houses?
They get holes in them. They have to be fixed, and it's very expensive.
And it's a lot of work
A lot
to
of-
keep up a house. Have you guys started to face this yet?
Yeah,
Oh,
a little bit.
Don't worry, it gets worse.
Looking forward to being house poor. Soon I'll be house poor.
Swamitapovana, my grandfather lived in a little kutir, little mud hut in Uttarkashi on the banks of the Ganges, about 2/3 the size of my dining room. Very happy. Had all he needed. Nothing wrong with owning a house. But nothing in this world is gonna be the it that satisfies the human heart. Only coming home to the self. And one of the things that I think is the most fruitful practice we can do. Sakshi Bob, watch your mind, take on the viewpoint of the witness. Pay attention to our suffering. What does it feel like to want something I don't have? It sucks. And the more I want it, the further away from me it seems to be, the more painful it is. The world says, I'm unhappy because I don't have what I want. Yoga says, I'm unhappy because I'm wanting. It's the vancha was the word that he used here, which means wanting. That's so painful. One of the most famous sayings from this text, we've already passed it up, essentially says, why try to cover the world in leather when you can wear shoes? You can play whack-a-mole with all the stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. But all it's going to give you is different. All it's going to do. And here he says, based on the force of the past and the desires of other people, stuff comes to us. And based on the force of the past and the law of entropy, stuff leaves us.
I have a partner.
Yes.
It says that, there is this sort of, he says there is no desire for the continuance of enjoyments. After a point, the enjoyment becomes the enjoyment of yourself. And then the root feeling of wanting to continue the enjoyment of the self also is a cause for suffering, which is I want to keep feeling the bliss. And,
You cannot be attached to the bliss of samadhi. Absolutely right.
And so I guess the implication here is to let go of that as well. And then it doesn't matter after that whether it comes or goes.
Yes, but there's a big but here. You cannot renounce something you haven't got.
Sure.
So you don't want to be a lip Vedantin. Samadhi isn't real, it's an illusion, it's part of Maya. I won't bother it. Myself is what it is. And then what you are is a person who now has, because the mind will still reach out to something. It needs to be attached to something. Yoga to the self. But you can't be attached to your samadhi because it's a mind state. It comes and goes.
And that is for the mind to learn for itself.
There's no other way.
Yeah.
But if you don't have samadhi, your mind will return to the world. You'll just be fooling yourself.
So that's another example, sort of a first and then.
Exactly. And if you have a deep samadhi, your mind will leave the world easily. But everybody works this out for themselves. Everybody works this out for themselves. How deep your samadhi is, how ephemeral it is, what you're content with or not content with, how much of the world you want to play with.
I just find my mind's condition is kind of is funny where, you know, in the past I wanted like worldly pleasure or worldly enjoyments to persist longer than they did. And that was the cause of suffering. And then sooner or later, like the wanting samadhi to persist longer than it does is also a cause of suffering.
It can be.
And it's the same flavor of the suffering.
Yeah. There is a marked difference, though. And the difference is this. My desires for things in the world are desires for things that are unreal and inherently temporary. Yourself is very real. Yourself is very real. It's my mind that continues to extrovert. But you hasten slowly. What will happen is the more you get bored with the world, the more stuff will drop away. And I'm keen on what Shankara says when he talks about the qualifications of the teacher. First, he says Ch13, well versed in the scriptures, meaning he can wield a valid means of knowledge. Then he says, a full knower of the Supreme who has retired into the Supreme. But again, like Wendy and I spent the whole afternoon yesterday shopping. You know, we were shopping and we went to a neat restaurant and then had ice cream, you know, went to a couple furniture stores, totally engaged in Vyavahara and enjoyed it. Very different kind of enjoyment than when we get just ripped here in class. But I'm not going, oh dear, I gotta be tuned up on looking at the chair, you know? Is that making sense? We were out shopping, having a good time. But it's always there when and if you want to do it. But if abiding in the self is challenging and difficult, it is probably because of attachment. Now, I always go back to Ramana Maharshi. So he had his deep, deep enlightenment at the age of 16. Then he goes off to Tiruvannamalai. And then I think it was like 11 years he's living in the crypt underneath the temple in complete silence. And the biographies talk about seeming tapas. So what his heart led him to do was continue to burn out stuff. Oh, this was a great Mahatma. Great Mahatma. I don't know if this is useful,
It is. Yeah.
but there are scholars who study the scriptures and then come to the conclusion that samadhi is unnecessary and unreal. The scriptures alone are the valid praman. And, they're nice people. But I don't know whether I would call them Brahmin. When I met some Mahatmas, you just hang out with them and they're so deep in themselves. They show us what a human being is capable of doing. And we've gone through it in this text, we've gone through it in Tripura Rahasyam, the three orders of jnanis, depending on how deep that is. Or we can go to the Saptayana Bhumikas in this text. And remember, I always bring Ramana Maharshi's teaching in that, where the disciple says, to which of the 7 stages of knowledge does the jnani belong? And he says, the 4th, where you know yourself. You're never going to know any more self than that. Either see it or you don't. And then the disciple says, if that be so, then why have 3 more stages superior to it been articulated in the scripture? And Bhagawan says, these are not stages of bondage and release. These have to do with the experiences of the realized person. And listening carefully, they are not to be acquired by mere will or effort. In fact, if you're making efforts, you're not even at the 4th stage. I think that addresses what you were saying. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They are karmic. They have to do with the punya, the merit, the practice done in other lives and earlier in this life. But for example, are you a virtuoso guitar player?
Sometimes. I mean, what do you mean by virtuoso?
Virtuoso,
No,
professional
No.
quality. Why not?
I chose a different way.
You didn't want it.
Yeah.
Are you pretty good at programming?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why?
I did it more than playing guitar.
Same thing. It's the same thing. So it's that balance. We have to make a clear distinction between work and struggle. The spiritual life is work. It's always work. Thy right is to work alone, never to its fruits, what Krishna says. But that doesn't mean we struggle. We've given up the notion I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. To listen carefully. The seeker is seen to be doing spiritual practices so that they may purify their mind and realize the self. The woman or the man of wisdom may also be seen to be doing spiritual practices. It does not add to their knowledge of the self. Stage 4, 7 stages of knowledge. It's just the highest form of worldly pleasure. It's a lot cheaper than buying chairs. And it's just always there. But everybody works that out for themselves. How much guitar playing are you going to do? When was the last time you touched your guitar?
Today, actually.
Today? Okay. But have you gone long periods where you haven't played and you're rusty?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You won't lose your knowledge, but the of the bliss. And each of us finds the way in which we choose to revel. So, like the past head of the Chinmaya mission, Swami Tapovana, brilliant Vedantin, but he was really a mushy bhakta at heart. He'd get up there with his harmonium and just singing away, you know. That's how he reveled in the self. Chinmaya? Yeah. He was a child of the Himalaya, very austere. Good questions, good comments. And your intuition will lead you. Ultimately, the guru is with you. Now, if your samadhi is not deeply rooted and you do not have full knowledge of yourself, full knower of the Supreme, this discussion is meaningless. Going on.
Manasa manasichinne nihankara tam gate bhavena galite bhave swastha tishdhami kevalah. When the mind is destroyed by the mind and has arrived at the state devoid of egotism, and when thought has dropped down or vanished through thought, I remain self-abiding and alone.
So it is the mind itself that ends the mind. What do we mean? Listen carefully. Thinking in and of itself is not problematic. The highest state is not like having a frontal lobotomy, he says after just extolling the value of samadhi. According to Yoga Vasishtha, the mind really is 3 ideas. I think I'm a person. I think the world of name and form is separate from me and inherently joy-giving or misery-producing. And I have to struggle, that kartavya we've been talking about. Just those 3 ideas. That is the mind. That's the egotism that he's talking about. That's ankriti. That's jiva bhavana. That's sansara. That's my dukkha. The flow of thought in and of itself is not problematic in the end. Even a desire is not problematic in the end. It's attachment, it's insistence, it's having an addictive relationship with the world that's problematic. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's related to detachment or non-attachment. Because I've been in the States, so I've seen people in the States where you just don't care. You don't care about future, present, what's gonna happen. So it's on the surface, it seems like detachment. And yet it doesn't look like the sadhus you were talking about, where they are fully alive and present and engaged with life. And it seems like at the very least they care about devotion or connecting with something. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's a very, very good observation. And we have to make a distinction between the tyranny of raga and dvesha. I call it our inner two-year-old. I don't want to eat my broccoli. I want ice cream. And we can have a phony kind of renunciation or flow. I just don't care. I'm going with the flow of life and stuff like that. And you know, it can also have elements of avoiding life because it's too difficult and painful. But what we have to do is move beyond that tyranny of raga and dvesha. Then the intuition can clearly operate. And you do function in the world with no thought of attachment to the outcome.
So how do you snap out of it? Right? When there is just empathy, I guess.
Well, first of all, you can't do somebody else's yoga. So we can only do our own. So you may see it in other people. Unfortunately, there's nothing you or I can do about it. That's the first thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm talking about myself. So
Go for yourself. If you're in a state of ennui and it's tamasic, you know, if you read Yoga Vasishtha, only you can figure this out for yourself. Is it really mature detachment? Then the next thing to do is strive hard for realization. You don't want to give up your mumukshutva, the burning desire for moksha, for liberation. And it won't come just by doing puja. It won't come just by chanting mantras. It is only in the end by Atma Vichara, this intense inquiry into your self nature. And I promise you, if you engage in that, all the other stuff will start to make sense. Did that make sense?
Mhm.
Yes, no, I can't.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And how a person acts, that's in the end irrelevant for the woman of knowledge. We have all sorts of characters. We have characters like Nachiketas in Kathopanishad. 8 years old, total renunciate, goes off to the palace of Lord Death, sits there completely indifferent for 3 days outside the palace. Then on the other hand, we have King Janaka. My favorite form of the story, he's at a party and he gets drunk. He goes out to get some air out on the balcony, and some celestial sages teach him the knowledge. And he does his mananam, he considers it, and he goes into samadhi for a muhurta, 48 minutes. Then he thinks, oh, why should I be engaged in the world? There's nothing here. And then he thinks, why should I not be engaged in the world? It doesn't matter. I got a job. The other piece to look at is, do you have some subtle aversions? So do you have a job right now?
Well, the state I described, it comes and goes. But when it comes, there's just like, whatever. Like, nothing really matters.
In the end, nothing really matters. But do you have the Brahmananda Rasa Swat? Do you have the taste of the juice of the bliss of your own self-nature?
Well, through when I go through other phases, I do. Yeah.
If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to talk with you one-on-one. So maybe we can dig a little deeper and find out what's going on there.
Okay.
I am your servant. All right, next verse.
Jaya Sarvagamapita, Jaya Sarvagamaspada, Jaya Bhava, Jaya Shanti Parayana. Victory to him who is beyond all scriptures. Victory to him who is the abode of all scriptures. Victory to being or existence. Victory to non-being or non-existence. Victory to him who is absorbed in tranquility.
Yes. So Shankara says, without knowledge of the self, study of the scriptures is futile. With knowledge of the self, study of the scriptures is again futile, because you've become an Upanishad. So what's the purpose of the scriptures? They serve as a bridge for the knowledge to flow from a teacher to students. There's no law, no rule for the Sthita Prajna. No rules at all. So back to that verse from Gita that I talked about earlier. This is for you, Anya. So the first part, that person who casts off all the cravings, all the desires of the mind, O Partha, sounds like that part of it you've accomplished. And who is satisfied in the self by the self. That may be the peace that hasn't become available to explain. Not just renunciation. This intense introversion of the mind into the self. What Swamiji used to call being tuned up. And what he would do would be to show us that deep emptiness that's so full, because we would learn to tune to his mind. Just hang out there. And I told these kids, after a while, I knew what he was going to say before he said it. But Vedanta is incredibly repetitive. But I didn't care. I just wanted to enjoy the bliss of his just profound emptiness, the thunder of his silence. He's so empty. Punya prasad, the gift of that incredible emptiness. Next verse.
इति मत्वा समाधौ स निर्विकल्पे चिरं स्थितः. Thus, having reflected, he remained for a long time in nirvikalpa samadhi, or the yogic state of absorption in the absolute consciousness.
So, actually, nirvikalpa does not have to be for a long period. Anytime there's space between your thoughts and your attention is turned within, and you get those flashes, the no thingness of yourself. There's that deep peace, quietness. That's good enough. You know. So in the beginning, I could only go there when I was around Swamiji. And then he would say, use the guru. You could tune in to me wherever I am in the world. So it didn't matter if he was in Australia or India or Europe. I just think of it. My mind would go there. He says, now you have to be established in it yourself. And I realized, oh, it was a trick. It's really my own swarup, my own self-nature. And I found out who Swamiji was, finally. He was myself. He was the self. Wasn't that little man in the orange robes? When he dropped his body, so many people, woo, 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 Swamiji's gone. And I would just say, but I didn't say too much out loud. I said, what are you talking about? He didn't go anywhere. Nothing of him that was real ever went anywhere. But such is the power of Maya. All right, one more.
New section.
Well, we'll stop here then. We've got just a couple minutes. Any other questions that we might be able to cover? We've got a couple minutes. Anya,
I'm good.
Dario,
Thank you.
no questions? Okay, we'll end here then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat.